Hey guys, it's the Blade 5, and welcome to my first non-video game related response video. My response to Nostalgia Critic's Jurassic World review. And before I start, I have to do a lot of explaining so people don't get the wrong idea. I have nothing against Nostalgia Critic. As I said at the end of my last video, I'm a fan of Nostalgia Critic. He makes reviews of bad nostalgic movies and on some occasions recent movies, like here, and they are both very funny to watch as well as showing why the movie is so bad. The only reason why Nostalgia Critic wasn't on my top 20 favorite YouTubers is because I don't consider him a YouTuber since his videos are just uploaded from the Channel Awesome website. Now, my biggest issue with the review isn't Critic's opinion of the movie. Even though everybody in America seems to hate Jurassic World, everyone in the UK likes it, and so do I. It's not as good as the original Jurassic Park, but it's better than Lost World and Jurassic Park 3, even though that's not really saying much. My only major issue, I should say, with the movie is that the beginning is a bit slow and boring, but it picks up once the Indominus Rex breaks out, because the movie then becomes a lot more intense and action-packed, and even has elements of a slasher movie, which I'll get to later. Getting back on track, my main problem with the review is that instead of using clips from the movie is acted out through skits. Now, I'm not a modern Nostalgia Critic hater because I do like the skits when they're used to joke about a problem with the movie, but the entire review is just skits. And I know the review came out while the movie was still in theaters, and I know Critic explains this is because the other Jurassic Park movie reviews were taken down for copyright, even though they fall into fair use, but still, you could have waited for the DVD to be released and review it then. The reason why the skits bother me is that Critic's main complaints are ones where clips from the movie are needed to help prove his point. In the review, the skits are kind of biased towards Critic's opinions as he portrays them how he sees the movie, which isn't really fair in a review. So with that big disclaimer out of the way, let's get to Critic's points in the review. And I should mention that Nostalgia Critic reviews go through the entire movie's plot, so there will be spoilers in this video. So his first point is that Critic hates the movie CGI because he says it sucks and makes the dinosaurs look so fake. While the CGI in the movie isn't the best CGI I've ever seen, I think it looks far better than how Critic describes it. In the review, Critic says the dinosaurs look like cardboard cutouts, but then says that they look like mist, which is an incredibly exaggerated description. I know that the character of the Nostalgia Critic is an exaggerated version of Doug Walker, but even the critic doesn't exaggerate this much. He makes it sound like the CGI is worse than Sharknado's CGI, which is clearly not true. I personally thought the CGI was great, not to the same extent as to say a Marvel movie or something, but far better than how Critic describes. It still felt like they were there to me. Also, this is an instance of needing clips from the movie to prove Critic's point, since you need to show the CGI to help show why you think it sucks. Now, the next complaint, which is one I have the biggest issue with and completely baffles my mind, as well as everyone else in the comments, is that Critic says that the Indominus Rex is just a big raptor. He even takes this further to say that the plot twist of the Indominus Rex being part raptor was predictable because of this. Critic, could you please tell me why you think the Indominus Rex looks like a raptor? Please. Seriously, the only part of its design that is raptor-like is the arms, and even then, there are other dinosaurs with similar-looking arms. I mean, the Indominus Rex's main body build is that of a T-Rex, which is very obvious. So I'm just so confused why Critic thinks this looks like a big raptor. In the movie, they state that the DNA that was used to create the Indominus Rex was, other than raptor, was T-Rex, cuttlefish, and toad. Just look at a side-by-side shot of the Indominus Rex and a Jurassic Park Velociraptor. They look nothing alike. Critic just assumes that everybody thinks the same when they don't, as there are plenty of people in the comments who don't understand this either. And remember how I mentioned earlier that the skits were kind of biased? Well, here is the perfect example of this. Critic tries to prove his argument about the Indominus Rex being a big raptor by showing a comparison between a guy, who I'm assuming is Rob, wearing a raptor mask next to another guy wearing the same mask, just in a different color. This complaint just baffles my mind, as I don't understand how Critic thinks the Indominus Rex is just a big raptor. Also, this is another instance of needing clips from the movie in order to compare the raptors and the Indominus Rex to show why you think they look exactly the same. And for Critic's complaint about how the park's security were unaware of the Indominus Rex's abilities, that's actually explained in the movie. It was because Dr. Henry Wu didn't inform the security that the Indominus Rex has toad and cuttlefish DNA, since he kept it classified and didn't tell anyone until after it broke out and started killing people. Also, they state that the Indominus Rex is very intelligent, so it's likely that it intentionally didn't change its body temperature or use its camouflage until it planned to escape in order to throw the security guards off and trick them. The next complaint is Owen and Claire's chemistry. Now, this is a point I somewhat agree with. Owen and Claire didn't have much chemistry in the movie, which made them kissing come out of nowhere, aside from a brief mention that they used to date. However, I think this complaint is a bit exaggerated because Critic says that Owen and Claire's only bit of chemistry is them mentioning that they used to date. They did have a bit more chemistry than that, with Owen constantly reassuring Claire that he'll find the kids, and with their occasional bickering. I do agree that they didn't have enough chemistry to justify them kissing, and that they didn't need to be a couple, but they did have more chemistry than what Critic claims they have. The next complaint is when Simon Masrani pilots the helicopter, and I completely agree with this. Masrani flying the helicopter was just so random, considering they were going up against a hybrid dinosaur. Hell, they have all of these military guys on the island, and none of them know how to pilot a helicopter? If you wanted Masrani to be killed off, you could have just had one of the pterodactyls kill him when they attack the rest of the park, and just have a few military guys in the helicopter who get killed by the Indominus Rex. Next complaint, which really confuses me, is that Critic complains about how the surviving tourists in the park who are at risk of being attacked by Indominus Rex just stay in that one location and aren't attacked. The reason why this confuses me is because you don't need to have them get killed or move anywhere else, because since hundreds of people are at risk and the Indominus Rex keeps gradually getting closer to them throughout the movie, it builds a lot of tension. This is kind of what I meant about the movie having slasher elements. You have this threat getting closer and closer and closer throughout the entire movie. Because of that, the main characters are really pressed for time, and it keeps the audience interested since the characters have this massive issue to deal with in such a short amount of time. And it makes you tense because you wonder if they're going to do it in enough time, or if the people are just going to get killed. You don't need to see them again or move them in order to build that tension, as long as you know that they are there. It's weird to me since Critic occasionally mentions good ways of making a movie in his reviews, but he complains about this when this is a good way of making this type of movie. Now, skipping Critic's complaint about the obvious bad guy, since I do kind of agree with it, we go to the complaint about the plot twist, the Indominus Rex being part raptor, being stupid since it was obvious. Well, I've already covered how the Indominus Rex barely looks like a raptor, but Critic also mentions that it moves, acts, and sounds like a raptor. Where does it do that? Throughout the movie, the Indominus Rex moves, acts, and sounds like a T-Rex, not a raptor. Just look at the fight scene between the T-Rex and the Indominus Rex. They act very similarly. And if you listen to the Indominus Rex's roar, it sounds similar to the T-Rex roar from the original Jurassic Park. And that's really all the complaints, really. Critic then moves on to the climax, which he thinks was awesome, and I agree, and then laughs like a maniac, which made me feel more concerned rather than making me laugh. And then he recaps his thoughts. Now, I'm not trying to piss anyone off, even though I probably have already, since people can't accept someone else's opinion. When Critic gives his summary of a movie, he typically shows clips of the movie he's already showed, but here, it's just the skits again, which made me feel a bit of a sense of, well, unsatisfied. It felt like a part of this review was missing, and it didn't feel right to me, which is strange, seeing as how I liked the Pixels review, and that was also just skits. But then I realized why. The Pixels review didn't talk about how things looked, while this one did. So it was a more fair review, and also there were more funny jokes in the Pixels review, while in this review, very few jokes made me laugh as it focused more on the complaints, which is partly why I felt this review was missing a big piece. There was a lack of good humor. The only joke I remember really laughing at was the Triceratops joke, where it gets slightly big and Critic's like, "Oh my god, what is that?" What I also found weird was that Critic didn't focus on the parents' divorce side plot in the review, since that is a small problem I did have with the movie, since it's only mentioned once, and you see the mum at the divorce hearings, but then it's never brought up again, and it was pointless in the grand scheme of things, so I don't even know why they even included it in the first place. Was it to have the two brothers get closer to each other or something? Because I'm pretty sure them having to survive from a hybrid dinosaur would already make them closer to each other. So, that was my response to the review. Again, my main issue was more due to the skits, as well as the fact that Critic thinks the Indominus Rex looks like a raptor for some reason, and not because Critic didn't like the movie. But hey, it was better than the Hocus Pocus review, since I had no idea what Critic was talking about, since I've never seen that movie, and that review pretty much requires you to actually see the movie. So with that, I'll see you guys on my next response video, which has been on the back burner of my response videos for some time now.